Welcome back to Behind the Brief, where we go beyond polished success stories and dive into the authentic experiences of marketing leaders, innovators, and change makers. I'm your host Shruti Verma, and today we are in for a real treat. We have someone whose journey blends creativity, leadership, mindfulness, and the evolving world of AI in product marketing. She's a six-time top 100 product marketing leaders, a passionate advocate for well-being, and a pioneer in shaping inclusive, mindful cultures in the fast-paced world of B2B SaaS. Please join me in welcoming Div Manickam. Thank you so much, Dev, for coming on the show. I'm really excited to get this started with.
Absolutely. Yeah, my pleasure. Thank you for having me as part of this podcast series, Shruti. Pleasure to be here.
Absolutely. Yeah. So we'll just kick things off, and I would love to hear from you personally, Dev. How do you define success in today's marketing world, and how has that definition evolved over time, especially with the rise of AI and mindfulness in the workplace?
I love the question. Yeah. So I think I have questioned the definition of success in the past couple of years and probably over the past decade, maybe. So I want to say that it can mean different things to different folks. It doesn't matter whether you are in a team, whether you are in a community. So within product marketing and our world of marketing, if you will, success was always about achieving the next milestone, the next goal, and chasing the next dream, whatever that is. And now I believe that success has a new meaning because as I started to learn more about how can I be a good leader, how can I be a good community member, I realized success is bringing the best in each other, whether it's for my team, for others, or other peers and leaders. And so it was giving all when I could collaborate together and achieve something that we've never done before. So I'm a 0 to 1 leader. And so it gives me a lot of joy when I can come in, figure out what's happening, and then navigate through it. So helping build that trust and credibility, I think, is important. But what was key to achieving success was two things: focus and focus. And I mean it in its true sense because you could do a lot of different things, especially in product marketing where you're being defined. Different industries look at it differently. So having that focus is key. And it's also knowing that you are here for the long term, right? It's not the short term goals or the instant gratification. So I like to think that we are making sure our path is set up for success and also learning to embrace failure because, as someone said, failure is a stepping stone to success, right? So having that growth mindset is important. And coming back to talking about the rise of AI and what does marketing success look like, it's a lot about efficiency. It's a lot about automation. Getting into this podcast series, previously, whenever I've gone into a podcast, I'll be like, oh, I know what the topic is. I'm going to share my answers. And this time I was like, I'm going to chat GPT and see what responses I'm getting. So I use Gemini and it allows me to craft my thinking. And that's the beauty of technology, right? AI is here to help us become better at what we are doing and to take away any of the things we don't want to be doing. So efficiency and automation is key. And then it's also giving you insights. So I'm a big believer of data democratization. And I think that's what we are getting, right? We're getting the knowledge of the universe all within our fingertips. And it's up to us how we use that. And so success is also about how we define it. And so that's where I weave in mindfulness, because you might think these are all bizarre topics all around the world, but it's about focusing on your empathy and connection. And I'll tell you a story about, I remember a message I got once from my creative design leader saying, Div, your EQ is off the chart. And that message was all I needed to lift myself up and feel like I could get through the day because everything was going wrong that day. Meetings were getting canceled, deadlines were off the charts. And I was like, how are things going off so wrong? And just that one message, that empathy and connection was key. And it also allows you to think about when you're communicating with someone, when you're collaborating with someone, what does that look like? So I think the rise of AI, mindfulness, and this intersection that I've found between AI, mindfulness, and product marketing is what keeps me excited and brings joy into my life every day.
Yeah, I really love the fact that you have, merged the two really different things, product marketing and mindfulness. And I feel it's so important when we want to sound more human. But with AI, it might feel like we are just not able to emote as much as we earlier should have. Being more mindful as a product marketer is something I would love to learn on this podcast. I'm really excited to dive deeper into our topics. And because we are talking about product marketing, I want to continue on this thread. I want to ask you, how much has product marketing changed over years? And because AI seems to be a huge part of that transformation, how has it impacted your product marketing strategy? And on the ground, like, how do you see it influencing GTM strategies and or even the way you approach customer insights?
Yeah, so when I started working on a new product that we were bringing to market, we often talk about, hey, we are the voice of the customer and we need to understand our customer pain points. This was, I think, the first time where, without really getting into the customer interviews and getting into the what is my customer thinking, what is in their mind, I could actually do some testing and look at how I want to position myself. So putting your customer first became real, and we could give the real value, right? So understanding them, connecting with them, actually looking at creating a web page copy and seeing, does this really resonate with my audience who is a CTO? What is top of mind for my CTO, right? So I spend a lot of time helping use technology and AI to craft some of those narratives, to craft how I want to be thinking about it, right? So it is about solving those problems, but it's also about building relationships. So one of the things that I love doing was looking at, where are these people in the ecosystem? Where are they going to figure out and learn about what opportunities are there? Who else is having challenges like they are? And that, I think, was fundamental, right? That is going above and beyond of what we could do as product marketing. We could spend months just conducting customer interviews. And I'm saying, do the customer interviews to validate that what you're doing as your preliminary research. But now you have quick access to preliminary research, which would have taken you months to get to that level of information, right? So I think that is important. It's also bringing back to that mindfulness aspect of it, right? So creating a mindful work environment is important to keep your team happy and content in what they're doing. I'm not saying every day is going to be bright and rosy, but at least capturing those moments of joy where you're creating those engaged teams, where you're helping them define what success looks like and be driving some of that. And then also looking at what's ahead of us. Everything we are doing is not just for today or for the next month or the next quarter. It's helping us create strategies that will become much more effective, because now we are using data to back up some of the work we're doing, and we're automating a lot of that. So that's, I think, been the big shift that I've seen for the work that I've been doing in product marketing. And then when it comes to go to market, we know the marketing landscape is constantly evolving. Every day there's a new technology, new solution out there that is here to solve our problems. And how we can be agile, how we can keep experimenting and embrace these new technologies is important for us to be relevant. I remember a few, maybe 7, 8 years ago, when we came across Clue for competitive intelligence, and we were, this is going to change our lives, because as much as we need the intel, sourcing it, keeping it up to date, all of that was time consuming, and they solved a really key pain point. And now you have a whole market for competitive intelligence, right? And that's the shift that you're bringing in. And then also being able to track some of this information. I remember the first year as the product marketing leader, and we were like, wait, we've been basically coming up water and then going underwater and then coming out of the water. And that's pretty much how we operated. We didn't know what was working and what wasn't working. And now we actually have the data to back up some of the work that we do. And so automating any and every admin task. I like to think that Gemini is my assistant that I never had and never will have, probably, right? Who can be the person or the individual that is, let me just battle test some ideas. Let me brainstorm something, right? Making sure it has the right context is important. So these are all elements you can think of.
Yeah, I believe having AI as your assistant works way better than letting it take power over you.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So now that we are talking about GTM strategy and also AI's impact on customer insights, do you have any real world application that you would like to share, or any specific example where you actually used AI in building a GTM strategy? What were the results, and was there something particularly unique that you approached? Would you like to share that with me?
Sure, yeah. So I'll go back to the new product launch. So this is a new product offering that we were creating. So we had the core offering as a company, and this is our opportunity to tap into an adjacent market. And this also meant that we were going after personas we didn't really talk to. So it is a good problem to have, but also a challenge for someone coming into the company and helping kind of shape that go to market. So this was where we tapped into creating a product advisory council and looking at who do we want to be in this product advisory council, right? These are personas we don't have. Maybe we don't even interact with these folks within the companies that are our customers today. And so we needed that deeper understanding of our customers. So we looked at a lot of data from product interactions, right? Where is our customer spending most of their time and effort, to looking at and reaching out to our customer success team and looking at, hey, are these customers in a healthy status, right? That's an important point for us to make sure we're bringing the right folks in. We also looked at review sites and social media, and we also looked at, are there folks outside of our customer base that we would say these would be our ideal customers we would want to go after. And so tapping into some of that knowledge and building that rich customer profile was important, right? We always talk about ICP. This was us really defining what that ICP is. And I think one of the things we did differently from my previous experiences was we also brought in partners into the equation. So typically when you do a advisory council, it's mostly customers, but we also brought in partners because we knew that partners could help shape who we are and where we want to go. And they also have an ecosystem that they are playing with, right? So that, I think, shift was important. And then it gave us an opportunity to personalize some of the information that we were sharing with our customers to create user segments, right? There were customers, think about data volume. So depending on how much data volume they're consuming, their needs and their use cases are going to be different. So it allowed us to prioritize our roadmap. It allowed us to re-enable our customers to gain trust and credibility within the vision of where the company is headed, because this was allowing them to achieve something that they probably wouldn't have if this new product wasn't there. It allowed us to look at pricing. So we did price testing with them. We were creating a whole new metric, right? So typically when we think about applications, you're saying, okay, you connect application A to B, and that was the metric we had. Now we were talking about data and data tiers. And we wanted to make sure we were relatively competitive in the market, right? Going into a space that we have not been in means that there are already players in that market. So how do we stay relevant? And so it was helping kind of define that. And they helped us make sure we were prioritizing the right way. And this is where I think AI was also fundamental in making sure we were reaching the right audiences in the right mechanism.
So I have also used AI in building GTM strategies, taking help from a lot of resources because Google was our go-to to research, to go deep dive into the market. But I believe these AI tools are kind of replacing Google for me because I don't now directly Google sometimes. AI is filtering it out for you, making your job easy as a marketer, because for me, it has done a lot of filtering out and I have gained a lot of perspective from that as well. Definitely fact check is something that you always have to do. See if the information is correct. Is this what you want before you actually propose it to your teams?
That's where we come in, right, as product marketing, because we are the context. And there are times where I'm like, Gemini, you don't get me. You're giving me responses, but give me something short and concise. I don't need a PhD thesis about the topic, right? And so helping kind of refine. And I think it's also, so having done my master's in cybersecurity, I remember doing AI and neural networks as part of my thesis. And now seeing this come to life, I'm like, oh, this is the LLM kind of going through and doing the neural network magic behind the scenes. And so it is fascinating, right? 20 years ago, you learned something and then now you're living it and it is application. I remember that shift in one of the things that I'm very excited about is, and you probably have encountered this, right? That's product marketing. We love our sales team, but at the same time, there are times where like, why don't they get it, right? How many times have we had sales come and ask us, hey, where is this content? Where is this asset? Where is this PDF, this presentation? And I want to leverage AI where they get recommendations on the most relevant stories, the most relevant case studies, white papers, product demos, whatever it is, specific for a persona, specific for an industry. And that will be game changing in some way. I'm sure somebody somewhere is creating that. So we are out there. But we actually brought in ChatGPT to go through our customer CRM data to look at what industries do we have customers in, because that is one question that keeps coming again and again, right? So this is where I think we can really do a lot more. And we are always told to do less is more, right? So this is our opportunity to kind of shape that. And then also, meetings, right? We are not in those sales conversations. We are not in those sales calls. Tools that are there like Gong, they make conversational intelligence for real, and it helps you better understand your customers' pain points. What are they asking for? What are they not asking for, right? We might go and build a whole product that they might not really be interested in. So helping kind of shape that. So looking ahead, that's where I see like AI is going to be embedded and integrated into everything we do in product marketing. It's going to make us more effective, more productive, and hopefully more mindful along the way, right? Where we think about the customer journey from awareness to building that advocacy and loyalty.
Absolutely. Yeah. On a personal level, I too have used Gong. So I can vouch for tools that can help you do your job better as a product marketer. The AI summarization part and all of that is really helpful. And I'm sure there are many tools like that. It definitely works for you when you have such AI tools at your benefit and you do your job
Absolutely, yeah.
better.
And it's not just about the technology itself, right? It's about how we are going to adapt, how we're going to
Right.
leverage these new
Yeah.
capabilities, because there have been capabilities like this all through our time. So it's important for us to become data savvy. It's important for us to become more data insights driven, right? It's like, how are we creating impact and how can we be more successful? This is our opportunity to tap into that. So that I think is very exciting. So it can
Exactly.
only go better from here.
Yeah, I'm sure. And I believe that I think we can very confidently say that product marketers are early adapters. So all the SaaS tools out there should have us as their ICP as well. I would love to be at the forefront where I get to experiment with those tools.
Absolutely. Like 5 years ago when we brought in Clue,
Yeah.
Clue was just like everything else, right? You had dashboards and you were creating battle cards and you were going and sourcing it. You were getting some data from
Right.
online public information, but that was it. Now Clue has an AI layer on top of it. So I'm getting all the synthesized information I need. It's connected to Gong. And this is where I think integration and looking at opportunities for different tools to complement each other is also a very interesting space to explore. So yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. I love that. Yeah, okay. So I would love to switch gears a bit to something I'm deeply curious about, mindfulness and how it plays role in your leadership. You are a huge advocate for mindfulness, emotional intelligence and creating a healthy work culture. So how do you integrate these practices in your day to day and how do you think they impact your decision making as a leader?
Absolutely. And I think this is probably my favorite question of the day. So I think I live and breathe it primarily because of life changes that happened for me. Just before the pandemic, Feb 2020, I was diagnosed with generalized anxiety disorder. And I was like, I have no idea what this is, but I'm going to figure it out and then help others. That was the first time when I found out that there were team members of mine who also had anxiety, and I didn't even know this was a thing. So people always say, Div, you're so calm and organized. You get everything done on time. And I'm like, oh, now I get why that is, because I have to make sure I manage and outrun my mind in all the things that I'm trying to do. So this mindfulness is something I stumbled upon in 2020 because I needed to find solutions to work with. And I realized that all workplaces, depending on where you are, will have different variations, but it's up to us to figure out what works for us. So mindfulness became part of my lifestyle and who I am as an individual, and anything that I get deeply passionate about. This is also part of being neurodiverse, right? I go full in and I will do my own research and figure out what solutions are out there, help myself and then help others. So as a mentor, this is what brings me joy. It's my purpose, my ikigai. But at the same time, it's also realizing that all of these things are complementing each other. So one thing that I would say has been most beneficial is I became more creative. So I'm a creative soul, but it also allowed me to focus and have that single handed focus that I need to be in a flow to do the things that I need to do as a creative thinker.
Yeah.
Whether it's coming up with new ideas, whether it's complementing or creating new campaigns, right? Having that impact. And I like to say, like, I believe in fusion. Give me a recipe, I can never follow the recipe because that is just who I am. And now I embrace that part of me. And so this is giving me the opportunity to be authentic, but at the same time, also bringing elements of it into my day to day. So that's the backstory behind how did mindfulness become important for my life and how it became part of my leadership as well. So during 2020, not that we want to go into that memory, but It was a time where I had a team of 25 folks around the world. So we had folks in North America and EMEA, Latin America, and Asia Pacific. And I could see how the world was ripping apart, but at the same time, I wanted to find something to connect and ground all of us. And so I brought mindfulness practices, 2-minute practices that I do. And I'm also on Insight Timer where I have these practices. And it's our opportunity to just tap into who we are as humans before anything else, right? And I think that was what grounded me as a leader. It allowed my team to feel the connection as humans itself. And that I think became important. But then it's also thriving long term. I always believe in the idea of this infinite game, and the concept being that mindfulness allows us to focus on the present, and it gives us that balanced view that we need. So as PMMs, we are constantly under pressure. Doesn't matter what environment we are in, always a fast-paced industry. We need to learn how to bounce back from setbacks. So now I set a goal, especially as I'm looking for my next opportunity. I'm like, I'm setting a goal for 100 rejections. One rejection today, one rejection tomorrow doesn't make me feel good at that moment, but I can sit with that rejection. I can sit with that emotion and feeling versus pushing it under the rug and just assuming everything is bright and beautiful, right? So those little things are very applicable to anybody working in any environment. And I think that has been important. But then it's also working together. And I always have this idea and this concept that I heard from one of my legal team leaders where they would say, we win or lose together. And I'm like, 100%. I believe in that, right? Mindfulness allows us to think about how we communicate with each other. What I see and what you see when we stare on a same piece of paper will be two different things. I did a slow art day work a couple weeks ago, and there were two pieces of art. One was an art that drew me, and I was very much in connection with it. And there was one art which was very repulsive. Like I just didn't want to even look at it, right? And then there was an architect in the same group that did this slow art day work with me. They had the total opposite reaction. They were like, the artwork that you loved, Div, I hated it. And I was like, whoa, we both looked at the same thing, but we had such a different contrast, right? This is what I want to bring into everything that we do, right? How we communicate, how can we reduce conflict? I'm not saying avoid it, reduce it to wherever possible. And then also improve teamwork, because whether you're working with product, marketing, sales, customer success, there isn't a team that we don't work with. So how do you kind of bring those relationships together, bridge the gaps? And that's why, like, my values have always been trust and credibility, extreme ownership, right? We own the good, the bad, and the ugly. And then it's all about relationships and results. And so keeping those three in mind, I think makes me grounded in my decision making as a leader, but also being there for my team. Like I know, and going back to the first question you had about success, right? Everybody has success in a different way. What success was for me a decade ago is different from what it is today. And so I've been a big advocate for the framework GROW and personal OKRs because it allows us to create whatever new opportunity we want in our own way. And sometimes we might be looking at something for a very long time and not seeing it. Just step outside, come back to it. It might be a whole new thing, right? So that's, I think, where mindfulness, leadership all became part of me. I didn't even think I would be a leader, but I think over time, you start realizing what's important for you and then you focus on what truly matters.
Yeah, I love the fact that you mentioned conflict doesn't have to be negative all the time because healthy conflict is what grows you as a team member. Having conflicts is also something, but then not having is like there's no communication happening. Yeah, it's the opposite. But I believe handling that conflict and then coming out together as a team. The reasons I got connected to you on LinkedIn was through your posts on mindfulness and how you connect the real challenges of dealing with product marketing teams. Collaboration is something that I loved. I think this marks the end of our podcast here, but I do want to mention that if you want people to reach out to you, just let them know where they can DM you.
If you want the creative side of me, you can find me on Instagram. If you want the professional side of me, you can find me on LinkedIn. But all places, I think I'm one authentic person. So you'll see all variations of it. And like Shruti mentioned, I also write. And writing became part of my own healing process in terms of figuring out what is important for me. So if topics of mindfulness, neurodiversity, well-being, leadership, or even thinking about product marketing and how all of these things come together are important for you, definitely check it out. So looking forward to seeing you all in the multiverse.
Thank you so much, Div. And I Really love the fact that we connected on so many levels.
Thank you, Shruti, for having me. This was a true pleasure.
I'll be back with some more good podcasts in the coming session. So thank you and stay tuned.